Hellions, today I'm going to show you how to memorize scales. I'm not going to show you a whole crapload of scales. I'm just going to show you the process by which I've learned to memorize them. Alright? Now, I will show you one scale. I'll show you the Locrian Scale. But there's instructional videos all over YouTube regarding scales, cage system, pentatonic scales, 3 notes per string scales. I use 3 notes per string whenever I can, but they're everywhere. You can minimal effort, you can find more scales than you have any need for. But there's plenty of scales. But every video I find of people trying to teach you scales is telling you to memorize the scales and practice them. How to memorize the scales is like this. Now, the Locrian scale starts out like this: 7 on the low E string, 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10. Then it's a stretch: 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12. Okay. Now, that's just all you're doing is 7, 8, 10. Then inverting the middle, 7, 9, 10. Then stretching and skipping one each. Okay. Now, to learn them quickly, the best way I've found is to go 2 strings plus 1 note. That is 7, 9, 10, or 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 7. Then go back up. Okay. What that does is you memorize these 2 strings and you get your finger set for the next string scale. It helps with the muscle memory. So it would be 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 7. See what I'm saying? Now, next string, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, 8. Now, since there's not another string down here, we have to start with the 10 on this one. Alright, so it'd be, this is where you're going to be leaving off on the 10. So you want to start that way. So start with your ring finger on the 10. 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12. When you come back up though, you probably want to use your middle finger, because that's an awful lot of movement to bring your ring finger all the way back up. So, and when you're going backwards, because if you decide to play the scale backwards, then what you're going to want to do is 12, 10, 8, 12, 10, 8, 10, 9, 7, and do that little slide. Because if you try to do it like this, it won't be much of a problem. But if you try to play it fast, you're going to end up hitting this until you get really used to moving your fingers. And it's still going to slow you down. So, seriously? So, try to learn your skills like that. Look up, doggone it. Stupid strap anyway. Look up the pentatonic scales. If you're just starting, I believe you are, start with the cage system. It's not a great system to learn your scales, but if you find a cage system, or find a cage system instructor that will show you the cage system is you're only learning the C, A, G, E, and D. That's why it's called the cage system. You're completely leaving out the F scale, the G scale, minor scales. You're leaving out diminished scales. You're leaving out the Locrian and Lydian, and you're leaving out a crap load of the stuff that's going to make you a decent guitarist. But with the cage system, you'll learn where your root notes are. You'll learn how to find your root notes, I should say. You're only going to be doing 2 notes per string, so it's fairly easy to memorize the caged scales patterns. And it will introduce you to finding root notes. It will introduce you to taking those patterns and moving them up and down the fretboard to change key. If you want to, the G on the cage system, the G scale starts on the 7th fret, just like the one I showed you. It's not like the one I showed you, but it starts in the same spot. But if you want to play the G scale on the 12th fret, because you're playing in, oh, I don't know, say you're playing in E major, and you want to play the G scale, then it teaches you to move the entire scale, the entire pattern up so many frets and reassign root notes. So the cage system is great to learn up front. Don't hang your hopes on it though. It is not going to teach you to play like Eddie Van Halen. You're going to need to learn a whole hell of a lot more. But that's a good starting point. It'll put you on the right path. Then you can start learning the pentatonic scales, assuming that they don't just get into that with the cage system. But they won't cover very many of the pentatonic scales, just under the C, A, G, E, and D. You'll have plenty of other scales you can learn, but learn the basics up front and learn how to find your root notes, assign root notes, how to move the scales up and down. Learn how to actually use scales before you start learning all the scales there are. Well, you'll probably never learn all the scales there are, but you see what I'm saying. And that scale I just showed you, memorize them using that. It's a good way to memorize them quickly and to get your fingers set to where they'll go in the right area. They're unloading me, that's why it's bouncing like this. But anyway, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, holler.